I affirm that what I have to say is true and correct, and I will explain that in 2007 I requested a full investigation by the FBI in regards to what happened to my children and why they were taken from me. It wasn't clear to me at that time that law enforcement was involved in false reports, retaining false reports, filing and putting into the system, entering into the NCI system, false warrants for my arrest out of Island Pond, Vermont. With that being said, I have copies and proof, in fact, documentation from the courts and my attorney to prove everything that I'm telling you. So I am requesting that the FBI investigate, and I don't care. I'm requesting that you investigate your own FBI agents that were involved from 2007 till 2022 that oversee the state of Vermont. The fact is, my children were taken into the state custody of Department of Children and Family Services, Newport, Vermont office, placed my daughter, Brianna, with a Border Patrol supervising agent named Mary Hare, married to the IEP teacher who lured my daughter out of her homeroom classroom to an IEP program. I had not given consent of that. I was a custodial parent. Why did I not be made aware of that? Well, because it led up to me getting phone calls that I had to attend school meetings when I was out of town, knowing that I was going to be out of town, but then they wouldn't have to meet with me once I got back. That was Michael Knox. He was the principal of Brighton Elementary School, Island Pond, Vermont at the time. So November 4th of 2006, I entered Brighton Elementary School, and I gave the secretary, Jocelyn Gervais, a copy of the airplane ticket and information that I would be leaving 30 days after on December 4th for 3 nights, 4 days, and I would be back. I was going down to find property to reestablish and forward life for my children, giving them an array of life instead of being in a dark cloud in Island Pond, Vermont. So I leave on December 4th as planned. I get a phone call that I have to call the school. I could not get home soon enough to find out what was going on because my daughter had been kicked out of school for some odd reason, and the principal said he had to see me before she was allowed back in school, that being Brianna. So with that, I don't understand, when I had signed papers giving permission for the care provider for my children during those few days to answer to anything, whether it was medical wise or not. And so what was the issue? Well, that was the beginning of the destruction of my family through the state of Vermont. Frivolous acts with the Brighton Elementary School, Northeast Kingdom Mental Health Services, a counselor named Linda Cope, who was meeting with my children behind my back, put in reports, which I have, that say that she counseled with me, and then Northeast Kingdom Mental Health Services says that they don't have any reports of it. Well, why don't they have reports? I got the reports. How about that? Jeffrey Noyce was under investigation for a missing laptop computer that went missing out of the police department of Island Pond, Vermont back in 2009. It's in the newspaper front page. However, the vandalism to my apartment in May of 2007 that was conspired by the town, placing my children and I out of Hillside Acres into Morgan, Mary Hare doing the transport, was all conspired as well. Because at the end of the school year, after going through and getting 8 tickets from Teddy Miller that were never verified, he never stopped me. He was sending me tickets in the mail. I got 3 tickets in the mail one weekend, 3 tickets in the mail after another weekend, and 2 more tickets the third weekend. That canceled my license and right to obtain a new license in the state of Vermont without paying $2,000 first. So that was also conspired. Where did the computer go? Did anybody ever find it? And all the information to prove my facts? Well, I've got the proof and the facts and the paperwork that tried to get burned at the Guildhall Courthouse in Guildhall, Vermont, after 10 years of me requesting my records and then finally being granted by the judge. There seemed to be an era of a year and a half that went by that I was still requesting my records from Angel at the courthouse, the clerk of Guildhall, Essex County Courthouse in Guildhall, Vermont. Then, consequently, I went and I handed Vincent Aluzzi a copy of a lawsuit that I filed against him in federal court. What happened to that? What happened to all my lawsuits that I filed with the intent to sue letters and all of my mail? We're going to get to that. So knowing that I had handed Vincent Aluzzi a copy of the letter of intent to sue him, a week later there was a fire in the closed case vault. Ask Lancaster Fire Chief the details. I emailed him and he emailed me back. And we all know that there should have never been a fire set in a closed case vault that was housing closed juvenile cases. Now, see, Angel told me that 2 out of 3 cases went up in smoke, but there was one that she could probably print. I asked her which 2. She said the younger children that were living with a Vermont detective, Rio Rowillard, and his wife, Mary. In Troy, Vermont, okay? Keep this in mind, people. He is the Super Trooper movie, the detective in that, about the Vermont State Police, okay? Now, knowing that they vandalized my home, they put in a false warrant for my arrest. At the end of the school year, Mary Hare came up to a graduation party that I put together for the children that were graduating from Brighton Elementary, 8th grade in 2007. She called Brianna, and Brianna told her, after asking me if she could come up, that she was welcome to come up and help get the girls ready, do their hair, whatever. She came up for a very short few minutes, and then she left. She called Brianna on the phone and told Brianna that Teddy Miller had a warrant for me, and that if I went to her graduation, I'd be arrested. So I wasn't able to go to my daughter's graduation because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to be an embarrassment as a repeat of history. There was no warrant. The Attorney General was contacted in the state of Maine, and Teddy Miller was told by Vermont State Police to take that warrant out of the system, and that was back in May. I have a copy of that documentation that Heidi Storm from St. Johnsbury Police Barracks Records Department sent to me. I still have the email. I also have all email correspondence that leads up to the fact that my children were illegally taken from me. I had not lived in Island Pond, Vermont. I did not live in Vermont when they came at me with a faxed warrant of abandonment. I had all proof and facts and witnesses, as well as documentation to prove and provide that my children, it was prearranged for my children, Savannah and Brianna, to be in Island Pond for 1 week while Kiana and I were in Vermont, Florida for 1 week. As a mother-daughter, previously I had taken Savannah as a mother-daughter and introduced her to a kindergarten where she would be starting. During that time, my home got vandalized, so we weren't able to go back to it. Bird got killed. This is up in Jocelyn Gervais' family's apartments up at Hillside Acres in Island Pond, Vermont, okay? So, knowing that I was moving, then they conspired a story of abandonment. After they had conspired stories of truancy, which goes back to the beginning of 2007 when I had to take my children out of school because I didn't trust that they were safe, and I was granted the right to do homeschooling until we could have a meeting. We had a meeting downtown at the library in Island Pond, Vermont. Michael Knox, the black principal, he tried saying that I was racist. Well, they had Mr. Johnson, Kenneth Johnson, in there, and he was black, and we got along just fine. I don't care what color skin you have, that's how you treat me. So knowing that they were throwing all this dirt at me, I wasn't doing anything wrong. So they came up with an abandonment warrant. And with that being said, my sister Pamela Taylor was on the phone with me as Kiana and I sat on an airplane on a flight back. We were in Dulles. when we were delayed, and I called and told her that. Pamela was supposed to meet me with Brianna and Savannah after Savannah had been granted the right by me to stay with Billy Joe Bone for 1 week and visit with that family, as we were very close during the time that we lived there. Billy Joe Bone was never questioned. She tried to come forward. Nobody would let her. Pamela Taylor wrote false statements. I have the copies of them from the court and my attorney. Mary Hare wrote false reports. DCF wrote false reports. Jeffrey Hare assaulted my daughter. I have the paperwork that proves everything. I have put this out here. I have requested from New York, Albany, New York, FBI office to investigate. And the woman that answered my call, even back on St. Patrick's Day of 2017, laughed at me, a female FBI agent. So I'd like for somebody to look through the call history and logs and find out who that female FBI agent was that was taking my call. And when I tried to tell her about what I'm telling you, she told me I was a liar. There's no way this happened, and have a nice day, and she hung up on me. I remember that day as clear as it was yesterday. And I want to know why. I came forward then, and I've been coming forward about the sex trafficking. I was abused, raped, and left in a home in Morriston, Florida, Levy County, Florida, back in the months of December 2016, January, February, and I finally got out in March. Levy County, I will be requesting those records and reports as well. Yeah, it was a carnival owner that did this to me. Sex trafficking, human trafficking. Yeah, that's what it was. And before that, it was all the years from 2001. Sex trafficked, human trafficked, and everything. By a carnival owner. Rockwell Amusements. Tom McGovern. And you all know about it. That's where you came and took my children from me. Barnstable County Fairgrounds, my grandfather's founded land. My grandfather was the first chief, first deputy in Barnstable County. My grandfather's the founder of Barnstable County, and I believe that's why you took my children and sex trafficked Brianna. You put Brianna in the home of the supervising agent for Border Patrol who sexually assaulted and abused physically my daughter. It's in paperwork from DCF at Newport, Vermont, and I have a copy of it. I shared it to YouTube. I've been sharing this information for years, and I want answers. I want to know if my daughter Kiana and my daughter Savannah were abused by Marion and Rio, physically and sexually. I already know they were verbally and emotionally as well as mentally, because they hate their mother, who they never got to know. Savannah never got to know me, but she hates me. The last I heard from my 4-year-old at the park that day was, "Oh, don't cry, Mommy. Wipe those alligator tears, crocodile tears. It's okay. Wipe them away. Smile, make a brighter day." That's what my 4-year-old told me. Back in August of 2007. And it was noted how well and cared for my children were. How clean and intelligent, respectful, morally, and in mannerism. And it was noted they had to have learned it from somebody. Well, I was their caretaker. I was their mother. I am their mother. I raised my kids. Those are my children. I want to know why the FBI of Albany, Vermont allowed this to happen. I want to know why the Attorney General, T.J. Donovan, has not been under scrutiny for this. I want to know why all the role players, Vermont State Police, are getting away with this. I want to know why there's been no investigation. I want to know why I have proof of fact and information to prove everything that I'm saying, and everybody's denying me. Vincent Aluzzi from Essex County, Vermont. Essex County Court. They're all tied in together. They're all in cahoots together. They all know each other. They all have gone to school together, slept together, ate dinner together or something. But I can tell you right now that all the judges, attorneys, state's attorneys, and police are all a conspired situation throughout the state of Vermont. And I'm going to name more, but I'm going to put this as FBI request number 1.